All right, Anthony Hartley here with another edition of the Hot Corner. This week I'm joined by special guest Rachel Lawson, head coach of the Kentucky Wildcats. Coach, I am so privileged that you joined us this week. I know your time is limited and I appreciate it a lot.
Oh, no, I'm pumped to be on. I love softball, talking softball, so it's great. I feel honored. It's the first time for me.
You know, here at YSN, we cover a lot of high school sports, and obviously you see a lot of high school softball recruiting. From your perspective, what's so special about that level of softball and how important it is to the development of softball players?
Well, when they have great coaching at the high school level and at the travel ball level, then from the mental perspective, then the adjustments you have to make are just to the speed of the game. If they're behind from just a strategy standpoint and they don't know the game very well, the speed of the game is really fast. And it seems to, the ones who seem to transition the quickest are the ones that have that great foundation back home with their youth and high school and all that sort of stuff. And that's definitely the difference.
And you brought up the coaching they have. I mean, talk about the high school coaches and some of the things that you get to see them excel at, and they're doing it for a lot less, and then they're almost volunteering their time to put in for these softball coaches. What can you speak of about the high school coaches that you've been privileged enough to interact with and what they mean to the softball world?
Well, I love high school coaches. I love high school sports. I think the rivalries that you get when you're in high school, there's nothing like playing your rival in your hometown. You will remember that for the rest of your life, even for those who are lucky enough to move on to the college level. You develop a bond with your high school coach. I think it's great. I think high school is a lot closer to what you're doing than travel ball, from the standpoint of, in high school you practice with your high school coach and your team, and then you play fewer games. Whereas in travel ball, which unbelievable coaching as well, but you don't get very many practice opportunities. So it's like play. And so what the athletes do in high school more mirrors what happens at the college level. And so the better the high school preparation, the high school coach, the faster the player transitions at our level.
And when you're recruiting, what kind of things are you looking for from maybe a high school standpoint that show you that this kid is someone that you need to look at or that you would be interested in bringing to Kentucky?
There's a couple of things. Number one, they have to win. And I know that sounds crazy, but they have to win. Meaning, if you're a pitcher, you have to be able to take your team to the regionals or districts. I don't know what they're called where you're at. You can't just be like, well, we didn't have a good defense, therefore I couldn't take my team. Like, if you want to pitch at our level, you have to figure out how to carry your team far. That doesn't mean you're going to be able to carry them to a state championship, but you have to be able to handle that and carry your team. Grades matter to me because it shows that you're respectful of your teachers. It shows that you're able to, have an assignment or whatever the case is and work through it, whether you want to do it or not. So to me, grades are more about the character of the person and less about their overall intelligence. Coaching matters. So if they're a multi-sport athlete, I love it because that meant they had to receive coaching not only from their softball coach, but also maybe a basketball coach or something like that. And so the ability to take information from different people and to be able to put it into yourself, I think is an unbelievable skill. And it's that growth mindset and that ability to process information that you're hearing from other people that really helps people excel and reach the next level.
I love that you brought up multiple sports because that's been a hot topic in high school sports for the last year or so. From your perspective, what's your stance on multiple sports versus the early specialization and, kind of that kind of thing?
Well, I hate early specialization. It's not a secret. And I'm using the word hate properly here. There's a couple of things that go on. Number one, I think that just the overall athleticism that you need to do different things, it helps your mind and it helps your body. So like you develop, my best middle infielders and my best outfielders either ran track or they played basketball or something like that. And a game is a game. So even though softball is different from, let's say, a basketball or volleyball, there's a score, you have goals, you're trying to figure out strategy, so that really helps your mindset. I think there's also a lot of overuse injuries when you specialize early, and in softball and baseball, they're just so hard on your body. And so if you can develop other physical, like your core strength and your leg strength from jumping and all that sort of stuff. You're able to not overuse your stuff and you're able to get stronger. So both mentally and physically, I think multi-sports would help you transition to a better athlete. The other thing that I think, again, I go back to coaching to be able, I've learned so many great things from people who aren't softball coaches that I've been able to advance in my softball career. And so to be able to get different perspectives and viewpoints, I also think helps people achieve greatness.
And you said it. When you look at a player and they're playing multiple sports, they also can take things from one sport and bring it into another sport. Do you see a lot of that too? Like, okay, I can use this that I learned in volleyball and use it to be really flexible in softball and things like that.
Oh, absolutely. Like think of the quickness you need to play in the infield positions at college, especially the corners. So how quick you need to be on the volleyball court or in basketball to stop somebody from driving the lane. You use a lot of the same skills. Golf is exactly like pitching a softball, biomechanically speaking. So I often go to the Golf Channel when I'm learning biomechanics. Overhand throwing is overhand throwing. It doesn't matter if you're throwing a javelin or a baseball or a football or whatever the case is. I mean, there's small differences, but just the overall body movements I think are huge. So you definitely take from other sports and you put it into softball for sure. I think one of the reasons our team is always pretty tough defensively is because I played multiple sports and I've been able to steal, the best coaches steal from others, right? And I've been able to steal from tennis or volleyball or whatever.
Great segue. Let's talk about your softball journey all the way from playing at UMass to appearing in a World Series to where you are now. What are some key moments in your softball journey that have really shaped who you are now as a person?
Well, the key moment, I think, was I'm from Montana, and I was playing high school ball in Montana, and I had blown my knee out that year, tore my ACL and a bunch of other stuff. And I thought my career was over because back then you didn't have scholarships and things like that to go to college. And so I had enough money to go to in-state, but I didn't have enough money to go out of state. And there was a moment where people from my community, they band together. I'll never forget this. It was my last high school softball game. I thought I was done playing softball forever. I'm taking my cleats off. And they did not have softball at the college level in Montana at the time. And so anyway, a man from my community, he gave me an envelope, and inside the envelope, there were a bunch of checks from people in the community. And it was the difference between in-state and out-of-state tuition to play college softball for 1 year. So they wanted me to have my chance at UMass. And then once I got there, I had to figure out how to get jobs and other things like that so that I could sustain myself financially. So they wanted me to have that opportunity to go. And so that was the key defining moment in my career.
Talk about changing your life. That's an awesome story. Mm-hmm. What about your coaching career? What was it like switching from player mentality to coach mentality? And then how have you grown as a coach from the years and years and now 14th year at Kentucky?
Well, it's funny. I never wanted to be a softball coach at all. I wanted to go on and have a profession in law. And I'll never forget my college coach, also very instrumental in my life. She asked me to help. She was going to help pay for grad school and I would help coach. And I was like, Coach, I have no tolerance for people. I cannot coach, She's like, you will learn patience. And I'm like, no, I'll help you because you're paying for me to get my my MBA or whatever. But you're paying for me, so I'm going to help you. But after that, I'm going on. And so sure enough, she helped me through grad school. I worked at UMass. And then what happened was I really enjoyed coaching. And so I springboarded into a coaching career. With that said, I had to develop patience. She was absolutely right. I've had to work really hard on that. And then over the years, because I'm a very analytical, no nonsense kind of person, just by nature. And so I've really had to do a better job connecting with people. I think, especially in today's generation, they don't really care about the information unless they know you care about them first. And they don't just accept it. They don't take it for granted that you care about them. That's why you're there. So you really have to show that human side. And so that's something that, believe it or not, I've had to really work on because that's not my true nature. But connecting with the athletes is something that I think often has often gone unchecked in the coaching profession. But I do think that we're all kind of working on that right now.
And, what we talked to a lot of high school coaches, the community in high school is so close-knit because you're right down the road from a bunch of coaches.
Mhm.
Is it the same? I'm wondering, is it the same in college with all these coaches that obviously even the SEC, a lot of respectful coaches in this conference. Is there kind of a softball coaching community where you guys can lean on each other a little bit when you're not beating each other up in the SEC conference play?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I would say definitely within the SEC and the college coaching profession as a whole. One of the things I love about softball is our coaching community is so tight knit. And not just college coaches, but we're really tight knit with high school coaches and with travel ball coaches. I think because softball people have to deal with a lot of crap, right? There's always a rain delay. There's no clock, so your game could be delayed in the summer 2 to 3 hours, that sort of situation. Just the sport itself is hard. You're out in the sun all the time. Like there's so many things that are not comfortable, and there's kind of like this misery brings everyone together sort of situation. And I think what that's done is create a community that's expanded past, the weather hardships or whatever the case is. And so, when COVID hit, one of the weirdest things was not being out on the recruiting trail, not seeing, and talking with your college coach, your colleagues, and also on the recruiting side, you weren't able to be face to face with the travel ball coaches. And it's in those discussions that you really develop as a coach as well. So you have your experiences with your team, but then you take those experiences, and then the other coaches are your sounding board. And we just didn't have that. Often we get on the phone and call each other now and stuff like that. But that's something that I really love about the coaching profession, and one of the reasons I feel like I have a great job.
Let's talk about your team and give you a chance to highlight Kentucky.
Okay.
Off to a great start, 23-2. Latest polls had you in the top 10. A very young team. How have you seen your team kind of adapt to the obstacles this year and really embrace the opportunity they've been given?
Well, I'm really impressed with my team. I was very nervous. There were so many unknowns. We have a completely new infield minus, Mallory Payton was a returner in her position, and Kayla Kowalik. But other than that, everybody else is brand new. And then our outfield, we have several new faces in the outfield. And so I didn't know what to expect. And then here we have these 2 months off here, 1 month off here, and that was something we weren't used to. So I was thinking, oh, this is going to be a disaster. This is not going to be good. And I was very worried about the physical shape that my team was going to be in when they came back, because working out by yourself is very different from working out with a team. But anyway, they did great. They came back. Everybody, you could tell, was very self-motivated. They had a great community that wrapped around them that helped them. I heard so many stories about, I'm going to work out at my, cousin's girlfriend's basement. They have a weight room that I can be COVID free in. And, hey, I'm going to go hit in the batting cages over here. Hey, I just went into this open country field and I just blasted balls. And, my family picked them up for me or whatever. And so they did such a good job when they weren't around each other. It was so impressive. So when they came back, they were in shape, and really we just had to focus on becoming a better softball team. We didn't have to worry about all those things that lead up that give you, the opportunity to even figure softball out. So they did an exceptional job. I can't say enough about my team.
And a great start. Now you start to get into the thick of SEC play, and everyone that watches softball knows what a grind the SEC schedule is. Do you think this really good start is going to help propel you guys towards a successful SEC season?
I believe so. You already saw us take a win in Florida, and in the other two games without a couple of key miscues. We could have even won them. That's how close the games were. And Florida's obviously exceptional. We're very fortunate that we have the hardest of the, every 3 years we get a really tough SEC schedule, meaning just where everybody falls. And so we're playing the majority of the top, the top 15. I think we're playing all of them. And so that really gives us the opportunity to continue to grow and be better. We got Alabama coming in this weekend, and that's always a brawl. So I think that the confidence in just the mindset and the process of what we did in the preseason, and just that winning, that's the feeling of knowing that, we had to come from behind in a few games and win in late innings. I thought that was great experience as well. So I believe that everything that we've built up right now is a good foundation so that we could have a strong SEC season that hopefully propels us into an even better postseason.
And I'm sure you're happy Alabama's coming to Kentucky. You don't have to make that trip to the Rhodes House, which is such a hard place to play.
Mm-hmm.
No place like home, but what is your favorite SEC road trip? A bunch of great stadiums in the SEC.
Oh, I love them all. They're all different. I think that's what makes the SEC so special. The other thing that makes the SEC great is when you're going to the visiting team on Thursday night, you practice on their field, and it's just so much fun to do BP in these amazing stadiums and hit it. It's probably one of the best times all week. You know, LSU has an amazing stadium. They have a great fan base. I really love playing there. Davis Diamond now, we've been there once for the SEC tournament, not an extended time, but man, that thing is unbelievable at Texas A&M. So not a favorite yet because I haven't been in it enough, but man, that thing is nice. Florida has a great fan base that sits in the front and they just yell at you and harass you the whole time. And that's a lot of fun because you're like, whether, you know, and of course you have the Rhodes House where they're just screaming at you the whole time and, you know, their crowd gets them pumped up and, you know, Murphy does his antics that, you know, it's a show when you go to the Rhodes House. You have to have a certain personality to be able to handle it. I just think it's so cool. You know, we always say, listen, it doesn't matter if someone's yelling at you or they're for you or whatever the case is, they're all softball fans. You know, obviously we prefer playing at John Crop, but the fact that just so many people are passionate about softball is just such a cool feeling. And you don't experience that until you come to college. And the fact that you get it so many times in the SEC is great. You know, Georgia's another place really hard to play. They have those metal bleachers, and when they've packed the house, people are pounding their feet on them, and you can't hear anything because they're up above you. Awesome. And Tennessee has such a loyal fan base. They have those, I don't know what they call themselves, but they have you seen the fans of Tennessee that travel to everything? They're hilarious. So, you know, they're all cool. They're all just different.
When you look at all the places you can go and the softball world in general, how much has it changed in the last 10 years? You said the fan base is, I mean, it's grown phenomenally in the last 10 years. As someone, as a coach like you, how happy are you just to see the growth of the sport and the growth of the fan base?
Oh, as an athlete, you know, as a woman, as an athlete, like if you would have told me 20 years ago that, you know, softball players would be playing in stadiums that are sold out and that the stadiums would have to increase capacity and all those things, I would have told you you were on some sort of drugs. Like I would have been like, there is no way that's going to be happening. And to see this in my lifetime, I remember as a player, the only time I played in a stadium is when we went to Oklahoma City. And at that time, that's not what it looks like now. It was very similar to just the back of the Rhodes House. So now Oklahoma City has obviously gone through renovations and it's amazing. And to see this and to know that these athletes get to play in this and to see the continued growth, and every time there's an SEC tournament, that school upgrades their facility. So I've seen 13 years of complete upgrades to facilities. To be able to do that and to know that that's happening for women's athletics is just so special. You know, I can't say enough about the SEC and the other schools across the country who are, you know, putting in a lot of resources for women.
Have you had players come into Kentucky and have a little bit of a culture shock to the atmosphere that comes into college softball, especially at your level compared to, you know, they go to the high school field and there might be 10 or 20 people there in the bleachers. You come to Kentucky, you're filling up that stadium and it's an atmosphere. There have been players that have kind of had to take a couple weeks to adjust to playing in front of large crowds.
You know, some players get a rush right away. And then some get nervous right away because they're like, whoa, I'm so nervous. I haven't had that before. Those jitters usually go away after like a week or so. I'll tell you when they notice it is after they've played in the SEC and then they go back home or they go to another school because once you get here, you think, oh, that's how it is. You know, that's how it is everywhere. And then when you go to other places or you go back in time to where you came from, you're like, wow, I didn't realize in that moment how different this was. So I think it's a bigger deal looking back than it is moving forward.
Can't let you go without talking about my friend Brittney Cervantes. Obviously, you get to work with her so closely. Coached her a long time ago, and now MPF career, now playing with Team Mexico. What's it like working with someone that you helped develop as a coach and you've been able to see firsthand growth and development over the years, and now you get to work with her?
Well, it's funny because she was my first recruit at Kentucky. So the fact that she's still playing is incredible to me. So I feel old at times. It makes me feel a little better because she's such an athlete. It's awesome because she is such a brilliant mind. She's somebody who's an incredible softball player, but she's also just an incredible person. So when she gets to be around people, she she gets to show how much she's grown up. And I don't think she would have had those opportunities had she not gone to Kentucky and everything that we have there. And, you know, she's been all over the world playing softball, and she's been, you know, she not just plays softball, but she's excelled at a very high level. And to see somebody have dreams and goals and to be able to reach them is pretty special. You know, working with her though, let me tell you, I mean, I think she knows she's kind of the boss. So that's been something. She's so brilliant. And she always has my back, but she is not afraid to tell me when I need to make a change. And I think when you have that kind of relationship, I think good things can happen. So it's been a lot of fun. You know, I'm hoping one day I'm going to see her as, you know, operations for a major pro team or something like that. But I'm going to, you know, enjoy the time while I have it.
The interactions on social between you two are just, if you're not following both of them on Twitter, you have to. How have you know, Twitter and social media has become such a key cog in recruiting and being out there, especially with COVID. How have you kind of handled that? You know, you said before you were kind of struggling with connecting with people, and that's a big thing with social media. You run a great Twitter account. So how have you, you know, adjusted to that kind of life in that world that we live in now?
Well, I had to learn to be more active on social media. So like everything you see on our social media account is all 100% true. Like there's no, like, we don't embellish, you know, we don't embellish things. It's like, we're like, that's funny. And that really just happened. The reason I started Twitter, I'll be honest with you, for the longest time, I wasn't even on it. And somebody started a fake Twitter. They were my imposter. So I was like, oh my goodness, you know, they were sending out recruiting information and all sorts of stuff. And the only way for me to combat it was my SID at the time was like, you've got to get on Twitter. And I'm just like, what am I going to do? You know, I still don't really know how to do Instagram. Or, you know, I'm really years behind still. But, you know, I've gotten better on Twitter. Brittney makes me, meaning like, hey, coach, you know, you need to, what you just said in our, you know, account or, you know, in our text message, you should say on Twitter or whatever. But social, Chris, my SID now is awesome. So he tells me, but I had to learn to get comfortable showing our true personality. I'm you know, I believe in like the athlete's privacy, and I believe in my privacy. And when you think that way, it's really hard to be active on social. So I had to be like, okay, we're just going to show our personality, and people don't like us, they don't like us. But anyway, it's been a lot of fun. And through social, I will say I've gotten to meet new people, which I never really thought about that side of it, because I don't, you know, I'm not active on Facebook or anything. I have an account, but I'm not real good at it. But it's allowed me to connect with our alumni, with our parents, with fans who just love softball, with people like you. You wouldn't have blogs and stuff if there wasn't, you know, social media. So I'm now thankful for it. So I've made a complete 180. So it's good.
The other thing that you notice if you follow any Kentucky sport on social is how close-knit the athletic community of Kentucky is. How grateful are you for that, so that you can go to any coach at Kentucky and they'll all have your back, and it's such a close-knit athletic community.
Mm-hmm. It really is. And it starts at the top. I mean, our AD, who granted probably terrible on social, but he is a great guy. And what he did is he hired a bunch of people that, you know, who were dedicated to the profession, and we stay focused, and we have a great staff. Like our academics, our strength staff, our grounds crew, our business, like you name it, all of the units, operations, everything. We all get along really well. And our main premise is, you know, we are the Big Blue Nation. Like we are part of this. And so if everybody's on board, and because of that, and all of the stuff we do outside of our individual teams, we've been able to bond together. I'm just surrounded with great people. I think that's why he's been able to keep so many coaches for so long, because we all know it's not because of the weather. That's for sure.
Before we let you go, what kind of advice do you give to a high school or even younger player that's just going through the recruiting process right now? And obviously it's changed quite a bit with COVID, and you know, some high schoolers are just kind of stressing about it. What advice would you give to a high school athlete trying to get recruited right now in this crazy world of having to change how they do it?
You know, I'm so thankful that athletes now can get recruited to colleges, and in some cases get paid, or even in other cases be admitted into a college they wouldn't normally be admitted to. That's an exceptional college, that they're a good student, but maybe not, but because of their their ability to play a sport, it gives them kind of a leg up. So I'm grateful it's there, but I think there's a ton of pressure to do that. And so in that case, I'm not really a big fan of it, because I see that kids are constantly posting on social and all that, and to try to get recognized. They're basically marketing their own agent. And I think that that's a tough gig, because that means you're not in the moment of what you're doing now. So like your moment is getting recruited, and your moment should be playing softball or playing the sport that you're in, or whatever moment you're in right now. And I think because some people are so focused on that, who don't have like advocates doing it for them, that because their mindset is there, they're not able to become the athlete that they were meant to be. And so the advice that I would give is try to surround yourself with really good people that will help you do that stuff for you, that will contact college coaches, get on the best team that you can do that already has those kind of connections. But you personally, after you do that, and have somebody in your family kind of like keeping up that the letters are going out and this stuff. But your job is to be an athlete, be in the moment, enjoy being a high school kid, like all those sorts of things, because doing all of that is going to make you a better softball player. What is not going to make you a better softball player is focusing on getting recruited. And I see that pressure. And if an athlete can just do that, be able to be in the moment and relax, I think they're going to be a lot better off, and they're going to get what they want. Sometimes I think people try so hard to get what they want that they're not developing the skills that they need to actually be successful once they get it.
Coach, thank you so much for your time. I know things are crazy during the season. I definitely appreciate you stepping on. We'll watch you the rest of the season, and good luck the rest of the year. And it was great talking to you.
All right, you too. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.